John chapter 14. We're just going to read one verse so that I can keep it under the restrictions the doctor gave me. I was talking to someone last night, actually several people were asking me how I'm doing, and I said I'm actually doing better than I thought. And I told them, I said I'm only supposed to preach so long, at least for a while. And I told them, and they said, "Oh, I bet your people love that." And I said, "They're praying I never get well so that I never get to preach more than 20, 25 minutes. But hopefully we'll be back up. But I'm only going to read one verse because I could read the whole chapter just about and fit in the context. But I think you'll see from verse 15, basically most of what I want to cover. John 14, verse 15, if implies there is some question. There's some doubt. There's a necessity of examining ourselves. There is the necessity of saying, not just saying I'm a Christian, but examining if, do I really, truly love Christ? There are multitudes of people who will tell you, oh, how I love Jesus, but their life doesn't back it up. Their life does not demonstrate it. So Jesus starts out, if there's a question, do you really, truly love me? It's more than words. It's more than just saying something. It is literally, as we will see, it is far more than just saying, oh, how I love Jesus. If you love me, here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep my commandments. Now, over the years, I have experienced and I have seen a lot of things. I have seen wives, both when I worked at the hospital, when I worked with the police department. I have seen wives that were so scared to death. I mean, petrified, shaking in their shoes, scared to death of their husband. I've seen fear that you would not believe. You know, when he walks into the room, they get scared. We were on calls and we get there, and the wife, it's like, okay, what happened? She's scared to death to even tell us what happened, because she knows if she tells us what happened, she's going to get it when we leave. She is scared to death of that man. I've seen kids that were terrified of a parent. I've seen kids run and hide when a certain parent comes in. They're scared to death. They are petrified. I've seen what fear can do to a person till it totally immobilizes them. Fear is a terrible way to live. So I want to look this morning at our service to God, and I'm going to ask why, and I want you to take it personal because I'm going to do my best to make it personal. Why am I here this morning? Why do I come to church? Why do I read my Bible? Is what I'm doing for the honor and glory of God, or am I doing it for some other reason? Well, my outline is very simple. Why many people pretend to serve God. We'll look at that first. Then we will look at why we should serve God, and there's only one reason. The others stem off of this one, but there's only one reason why we should serve God. Number 3, what many Christians put before serving God. And this is where I will ask you some very personal questions. I want you to truly ask, do I love Christ? And how do I show it? And then, last of all, how we should show our love if we truly love God. We sing the song, "Oh, how I love Jesus." But our lives don't back it up. So I'm going to at least I'm going to try. I want to preach in such a way that it is as if I pointed my finger at you, and I pointed my finger at you, and you, and you, and you know, and I want you to think I'm talking to you personally, because I'm going to do my best to do that. First of all, let's look at why many people serve God. I've already covered the first one. Many people serve God out of fear. If I don't go to church, God may make me sick. God may put me in a hospital. God may take away my spouse. God may take away a child. God may do something terrible, and I'm scared to death what God may do to me. And so I'll go to church, I'll read my Bible, I'll do all the things that I'm supposed to do because I'm scared of what God may do if I don't do all of these religious rituals. Some people serve God for recognition. I went to college with a guy who was extremely talented. I mean, couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. Couldn't get, he couldn't get, all he could get on the radio was static. Couldn't sing a note. But when it came to plumbing, electric, construction, he had owned a bulldozer, backhoe. He could do anything like that. And he did a lot of work for the college and for the church. But if the pastor didn't recognize him and say, I want to thank John Smith for clearing out, and digging our backhoe for us. Don't ask him to do anything else until he got the recognition that he wanted. He wanted to be recognized. He wanted the pastor to announce publicly that, John Smith took his backhoe and dug out this, and John Smith, wired our lights for us. And he did a lot of what he did because he wanted recognition. Some people do it, serve God, because they need or want something. My wife and I were watching a movie recently, and this lady was on there, and she was having all kinds of problems. And it was a very religious movie. Someone said, have you prayed? And it's like, why? Well, because only God can give you what you want. So she goes home, gets in her bedroom, crosses her hands, and this is not verbatim, but you'll get the idea. Lord, I know it's been a really long time, and I promise not to bother you again, but I need something right now, and you're the only one that can get it. Isn't that like a lot of people? The only time we want God is when we want something. Lord, my husband's in the hospital. I'm asking you to heal him. My son was in a bad car wreck, and I'm asking you to heal him. They'll come to church, they'll read their Bible, they'll do anything in order to get their need, whatever it is. And then as soon as they get it, they're gone. You won't see them again until they have another need. A sense of duty or obligation. It's Sunday. Get up. Got to go to church this morning. If you get up and think, I have to go to church, you've already answered my next question. If you love me, do you really love me? Do you come to church out of obligation? Oh, it's Sunday. There's nothing good on TV anyway. Might as well go to church. They don't come to church because they enjoy fellowshipping with fellow believers. They don't come to church because they want to hear a message from God. They come to church because they've got to do their duty. Those are the ones that will do the bare minimum. They'll come just enough to get by and no more. Number two, why should I serve God? I'm not supposed to raise my voice either. And you already know I did that, don't you? Why? Well, the answer is in our text. If you love me, we ought to serve God because we love him. Everybody knows my wife and I are going on 53 years. And when I tell people that, I get a very similar response. Oh, your poor wife. How has she stood it? And the answer is really, I think, simple. Love is what keeps us together. I don't mean that fuzzy, oozy, tingly feeling that goes up and down your spine. I'm talking about a totally different kind of love. The other day, she was actually not feeling good, which is very rare. And she said, oh, I really would like something from the kitchen. I said, I got it. Got up, got it, took it to her. Why did I do that? Because I love her. We do a lot for each other because we of love. When our kids were growing up, we did a lot of things because we loved them. Now that we've got grandkids, it's a whole different world. Things that we would spank our kids for, when the grandkids do the exact same thing. Isn't that cute? Why? Why should we love God more than anything. Well, stop for a moment, consider who he is. This is not some drunkard. I was amazed at as Brother Duncan was giving his testimony last night. I've known him since he moved down to Latonia. I didn't know that he used to be an alcoholic, and he said his favorite day of the week was Friday because that was payday. He said, I got paid on Friday, was broke by Saturday, but I loved payday. This is not some dishonest murderer. This is not some whoremonger. This is not some abusive, mean, lying, cheating, stealing somebody. This is the creator of the universe. This is the one who loved me so much that he specifically, personally designed me. He loved me so much that he designed everything about me. Bible said he even knows the very number of hairs on my head. That's how much he loves me. We were watching something a few months ago, and they were playing this husband and wife game. The wife would leave. They would ask the husband some questions. What is your wife's favorite color? You know, what is your wife's favorite food? And they would ask all kinds of questions. Then the wife would come in. The man would go out. They would ask her the same questions. Then they would bring them together to see how well they really knew each other. What's your wife's favorite color? Oh, her favorite color is blue. Wrong. What's her favorite food? Bologna, fried. Wrong. They've been married for years and don't have a clue about their spouse. I failed too, so I don't feel too terribly bad. How much do you really know about Jesus Christ? How much do you know about his life and death? We started last Wednesday night a series on the life of Christ. And even just in the introduction last week, I learned things that I'd never, ever thought about. Things that I've read, things that I have preached and never thought about it. How much do you know about Christ? How many of your prayers has he answered? How many times has he helped you in time of need? My wife and I, when I was in college, money was tight, very tight, very tight. And we would need something, and it's, Lord, this is a need. It's not a want. This is a need. It cost $10. We don't have it. The next day it would go on clearance for $1. And it's like, thank you, Lord. You just provided what we could not afford at $10. I made $1.70 an hour. And that was after I got a raise. You do the math. During the winter, I only worked maybe 3 or 4 hours a day during the winter. And yet, over and over and over, God provided our need. When our kids were in school, tuition was, well, it still is high. I'd come home from work, honey, we don't have the money for tuition. Let's pray about it. I'd be invited to preach. They would give us exactly what we needed after tithe. Over and over and over. We don't even count those, do we? What all has God done for you? Did you ever stop to think what God left? He left the splendor of heaven to come to a cursed earth, to die a horrible death, to be tortured, to die, so that he could save you. If that doesn't make you love him, some of us were talking here a while back, some friends of ours. When did you first meet your wife? You know, and there was several of us. First time I really met my wife. Now, we had classes together, but that didn't count. Back then, the boys, the young men, married the girls' dorm yard. We mowed, not married. We mowed their grass. So I'm out there, it's my time to mow the dorm grass, and this beautiful, beautiful lady comes out with a glass of ice water. Right then and there, it was done. I mean, it was signed, sealed, and delivered. She won me with a glass of ice water. Jesus Christ did a lot more than that. He left the splendors of heaven. He endured a beating like you and I can't imagine. He was nailed to a cross. His side was pierced because he loved you so much that he was willing to do that so that you might be saved. One of these days, he's coming back to take me home, and he's already prepared a mansion. I'm going to live forever. I tell you what, we were talking after Sunday school. Old age is not for the weak. I don't know why I'm looking at you. Tell you, my body's got so many scars. I've had so many. They asked me the other day, and I don't know why they keep asking. It hasn't changed. Give us your medical background. You don't have enough time, honey. Well, tell us about your surgeries. You still don't have enough time. He's going to give me a perfect body. Perfect. You too. No more back problems. No more flus. No more broken bones. I should love him because of everything he's done. Now, many Christians serve God only when there's nothing else going on. I wonder, and I wonder how many people stay home Because there's a favorite TV show on. You know how to solve that one? Get a DVR, record it, and play it back at your own leisure. If you love your spouse, wouldn't you want to do things to delight them? Can you imagine a guy? Doctor's counting my clock now. Can you imagine a guy saying, honey, I love you, but I'm going to go spend a few days with my girlfriend. Is that okay? You know what my wife would do? I told you what she would do, didn't you? I made a big mistake years ago, and I'm not talking about marriage, I'm talking about since then. I bought her a pistol and showed her how to use it. If I told her I want to go spend the weekend with my girlfriend, you better start planning my funeral because I'm out of here. And yet we treat God the same way. Oh, how I love Jesus, but I got something more important that I want to do today, Lord. Oh, how I love Jesus, but you see, I love someone else more, especially on Sunday night, Wednesday night, revivals. How many Christians put earthly things ahead of who they say they love? I've heard excuses that you would not believe. Well, I can't come to church because I sleep in on Sunday, and I can't go anywhere without breakfast. And by the time I get up and fix breakfast, I don't have time to come to church. But do what I do. Get up early. And I love what Brother Duncan said last night. He said most of us could miss a few meals and not even know it. He's lost 30, 40 pounds. I was proud of him. You know what I do if I get up too late to eat breakfast? I come anyway. You know what happens if something happens that, I love this more than I love going to church. I love this more than I love the Lord. So much for taking up your cross and following Him. So much for denying yourself. So much for seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. I find that, and I'm not picking on anybody in particular, this is a problem that exists across most churches. Most pastors will complain about the same thing. Oh, how I love Jesus. But I love my 32nd cousin's great niece, his next door neighbor, more than I love God. Jesus said it. Don't get mad at me. In Luke 24 or Luke 14 verse 26, Jesus said, if any man come to me and hate, not hate as in I hate you, but it's hate in the sense that my love for Christ so exceeds my love for everything else, that it appears that I hate them because my love for Christ is so much greater. But if you come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children, what should I do if I get up and my wife says, "You're not going to church again, are you?" Yeah. All you ever do is just go to church, go to church, go to church. Don't you ever get tired of going to church? Now, I love my wife, but at that point, my love for Christ must be greater than my love for my spouse. He goes on, his wife, his children, his brothers and sisters, and even his own life. You know, I find that Satan can give any of us more activities to keep us out of church than we used to have the expression, Carter's little liver pills. You young ones don't know what I'm talking about. So I'll say Satan's got more excuses than M&M's has M's. I think most of you get that one, don't you? I didn't think it would ever happen, but when I missed those weeks recuperating recently, it's confined pretty much to my recliner, except when I went to the kitchen to get something to eat. I found that Satan can give more things to do than you could ever imagine. Now, last of all, how should we demonstrate our love to Christ? And you've heard me preach on marriage. How do I show my wife I love her? Taking a baseball bat and hitting her upside the head when she disobeys. Anybody want to try that? Got some smart men here. How should I show my love? What does the Bible say? Well, Jesus did not say, "If you love me, be baptized." If you love me, donate $50,000 to the church. Now, Bill would love you. If you donated $50,000, Bill might even come shake your hand. But that's not how you show your love. If you love me, join the church. Join the choir. Sing a special. What did he say? If you love me, keep my commandments. 1 John chapter 5, verse 3, this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. Oh, God's just asking too much. No, when God makes a commandment, it's not because he wants to deprive you of something good. He wants to keep you from something bad. When our children were young, we I forget what it's called now, it's been so long ago, but we kid-proofed the electric outlets in our house. You know what that is, don't you? Put those little things in the outlet so they can't stick a fork in there. Why did we do that? Well, we don't want them to have fun being shocked. No, we loved them too much to allow them to be shocked. How much do you love God? Oh, God's rules are just too strict. You know why we have speed limits? No, it's not to fill a quota. I've worked with several departments. Not a single one of them have a quota. Not one. We have speed limits to keep us safe. You know, how many of you know Richardson Road going from, what is that, Dixie, down over to 16, 17? We picked up a guy in a fatal wreck one night there. He was going a wee little bit too fast. Ran off the road, hit the railroad that goes overhead, hit the concrete pillars that hold the railroad up, and we had to pick him up, and I had to go tell his wife that, or his girlfriend, I had to go tell his girlfriend that your boyfriend is dead. He thought he could beat the speed limit. He didn't. You know why they have rules? To keep you safe. You know why God has commandments? To keep you safe. To keep you close to Him. To keep you in His arms. Yes, He makes rules. But the rules are not to deprive you of something good. They're to keep you from something bad that could do real damage if God didn't protect you. We're to keep His commandments whether we like them or not. We're to keep His commandments regardless of the sacrifice. If I love God, and that's a big if, then I don't have a problem wanting to keep His commandments.